Please be seated. The court is now back in session. The floor will be given to Judge Lavange to continue putting questions to this witness. You may proceed, Judge Lavange.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Measvan, you have just told us that there were approximately 300 to 400 soldiers per battalion, and that there were 3 battalions in each regiment and 3 regiments in the brigade or division. So if I understand your testimony correctly, the total number of soldiers in the division was to what tune? How many soldiers were there in all? How many soldiers were there in the division in all?
But
Response. Within the military structure at the battlefield, the number varied. Usually a battalion comprised of 3 companies, and there were about 300 soldiers. So usually the number is a 3-time multiplication plus some special units if there is. So usually there should be about 7,000 soldiers for a special division.
Alors maintenant, j'aimerais qu'on...
I would like us to talk about the military structure in democratic Cambodia in general terms after 1975, that is after the liberation of Phnom Penh. According to you, did that structure change? And do you know whether some divisions remained under the jurisdiction of zones, or they were under the direct authority of the central organs of the party? Was there any change in the military structure?
All military personnel and soldiers were under the control of the Communist Party of Cambodia.
J'entends bien, Monsieur le témoin.
I do understand that everyone was under the control of the Communist Party witness, but what is of interest to me is the command lines, the chain of command, how authority was exercised. Initially, we understand that all divisions, or practically all of the divisions, were under the control of the Secretary of the Zone, and regarding the Southwest Zone, the divisions were under the control of Tamok. Was there any change subsequently, and were some divisions placed under the authority of the central organs of the Communist Party? What I mean is the Central Committee or any other organs.
I did not know the details of the affairs of the center. I knew partly of the affairs of the zone or the division. The division or the zone could issue commands to those subordinates within their respective zone. But it is beyond my knowledge as to which units or divisions under the direct control of the center.
Alors, parlons maintenant donc.
Now, let us talk about the zones. We heard a while ago that there were changes in the way those zones were organized administratively. They were split. Regarding the southwest zone, it is obvious that it was split, and a western zone was created from the southwest zone. Can you tell us when that happened?
I cannot recall the dates of the separations of the zone. What I knew is that after 1975, there were the separations of the southwest and of the west.
So then, what was the impact of this change? For example, the Division 1, which originally was under the authority of Tamok, did it fall then under the authority of another zone secretary, and then who?
Yes, that is correct.
So first of all, can you tell us, well, you told us that after the capture of Phnom Penh, you left quickly to the area of Kompot. Can you tell us what you went to do in the area of Kompot? With how many men did you go there, and how long did you stay there?
After I left for Kampot, I was tasked to lead the soldiers to the mines along the railway tracks. So that the train can be mobilized. I was engaged in that task for about 3 months.
And were your forces also sent to grow rice in the area of Kampot?
No, we did not engage in rice farming when we reached there. We only cleared the land and engage in demining from Tukmir to Tram Soso areas. That was all we did.
And the places where you were stationed depended on the Kampot area, and who was at the head of the Kampot sector?
At that time, there was Taran, who was in that Kampot sector, but I do not know whether he survived or not.
And was the Kampot sector called Sector 35? And was there someone by the name of Kang Chap alias Siet who was part of the sector committee?
I do not know the person by the name of Kong Chap. I never met that person.
when did you go to the West Zone?
Quel moment?
At which moment exactly?
It was probably in late 1976, but I cannot recall the exact month or date.
And your departure to the West Zone, did it happen at the same time as your appointment to the position of Deputy Leader of Division 1?
No, not yet. It was done 1 year later. That is after I was stationed in Koh Kong. I was the regiment commander there for 1 year, and later on I was promoted.
And back then, were all forces of Division 1 sent to the West Zone, or were certain units, or did certain units remain in the Southwest Zone, or were sent to other zones, or were sent to other divisions?
During the time that I was stationed in Koh Kong for a little bit more than 1 year, not all soldiers of Division 1 went there. There were only more than 1 regiment went there, and the rest stayed behind at Lung Wei. And I stayed there for a little bit more than 1 year. And those remaining forces at the back were then sent through the Northwest Zone. There were about 100 soldiers who were sent to the Northwest by the division commander.
Witness, I understood, but we have a few problems here with the interpretation. So I understood that you were heading the regiment, and that was in charge of the Koh Kong area. And I also understood that other forces had remained in the rear, but we did not hear the name of the place where these forces were stationed. Were all the forces stationed in the same place, or were the forces stationed in several different places? Can you answer this, please?
Could you please repeat your question, Your Honor?
Yes, witness. I understood that you were leading your regiment that was stationed in the Koh Kong area, but that certain forces, I don't know if these were forces from your regiment or from your division, remained at the rear, but I did not hear where these forces had remained. And what I'd like to know is whether these forces remained in one single place or in several different places, these forces from Division 1.
I'd like to clarify this point. I was a commander of the regiment then, not the division commander. And I remained there for a little bit more than 1 year. Later on, I was promoted to deputy commander of the division. one fourth of the division was with me, was at Koh Kong area, and the remaining was at Long Vec. And the division commander was at Long Vec. When 100 soldiers were sent to the northwest, they were sent by the division commander, not by my command. And those who were sent were not part of my force, but they were the force that remained at Long Vec.
And what was the total number of soldiers under your orders when you were in Koh Kong?
There were about 2,700 soldiers who went with me.
Alors,
So now I would like to take a look at this map of Democratic Kampuchea, which I passed on, and maybe we could also display this map on the screen. And in order for things to be clear, the West Zone is a zone that is in light green on the map. And we can see, well, let me specify that this map is not a new document, but it is a document that for which we have translated the Khmer names directly. And this class map was published in 1976, and in Khmer. But in order to make things easier to understand, we translated the annotations directly on the map. Now, regarding the French version on the case file, there is a mistake because zone 401, or 405 rather, is mentioned as the southeast zone, whereas it is the southwest zone. But let's return to the west zone. The west zone goes from Kompong Shnang to Koh Kong. And it covers, therefore, the entire western part, western region behind Phnom Penh, as well as a relatively important part of the Cambodian coast. And Long Vec that you mentioned, because Long Vec was where the headquarters of Division 1 were based.
But
Long Vec, the headquarters for Division 1.
So, the West Zone a priori includes 3 sectors: Sector 31, Sector 32, and Sector 37. And I also see an area called Region 11. So can you first of all confirm the amount of sectors in the zone as well as their names? And can you tell us where Long Vec is located?
There was no Sector 11, but there was Sector 31. It was in Kampong Speu. And there was Kampong Chnang, Kampong Speu, and then there was Koh Kong. Koh Kong was part of Sector 37.
So, was Sector 11, because we can see on the map a Sector 11 which is located at the border with the Northwest Zone. Can you see 11 on the map? Because you're telling us that this Sector 11 did not exist.
I did not know about the existence of Sector 11.
So we see here Sector 32, and we see that it adjoins the city of Kampong Som. Can you tell us if the city of Kampong Som had any kind of special status, if it depended on the west zone or on the southwest zone, or if it had a special status?
I never went to Kampong Saum. When I went to Koh Kong, I would take the inner road through Srai Ambal. So I did not know about the situation in relation to Kampong Saum.
Do you know who was heading the city of Kampong Saum?
Est-ce qu'il y avait un comité?
Was there a committee in charge of managing the city of Kampong Saum?
I do not have that knowledge.
Did you ever hear about a division, or rather, can you tell us what happened to Division 3, which was under the orders of Mr. Miasmut?
My division patrol from Koh Kong to Koh Sadat. That's to the north, and as to the south, it was under the control of Division 3. But the division commander never communicated directly with me. Only the regiment or the battalion commander communicated with my group. Since I stationed there, they never come to meet me in person at the divisional level. Only the battalion and the regiment communications were maintained at the time.
Did you ever hear about a Division 164?
Bad.
During the time that I was at that western part of Cambodia, I did not hear about that, but I only learned about that division when we engaged in the battlefield at the east border. Some of us knew about that when we went to engage in that battle, and we learned of this division 164.
Who was heading Division 164?
I cannot recall the name. When we were fighting along the border, we learned that Tamota was in charge of Division 164 with the green military uniforms, and I heard about that through my soldiers.
So you learned that it was Mr. Miasmut who was heading Division 164. Is that so?
Yes, that's what I learned.
So now I would like you to tell us if you were aware of the existence of a navy force, of the Cambodian Navy. How was the Cambodian Navy organized? Who was at the head of the Cambodian Navy?
I knew that the naval force was under the command of Tamut, that is Division 164. I learned that during the fighting, and that he was in charge of that division. That's all I knew.
Where were the Cambodian naval forces stationed?
The naval forces is stationed in Kampong Sao, and also stationed in Pulwai Island, Tang Island, and maybe other islands where I did not know.
So now let's return to your duties, to your mission in the Kokong sector. Can you tell us if your mission was limited simply to the island of Kokong, or if your mission involved the entire Section 37? And when I'm speaking about Sector 37, is Sector 37 as appears on the map that I distributed?
My duty was not to control the entire sector. It was the sector itself who controlled the sector, and the monitoring probably by the zone. My duty was to protect the border, some islands, and the maritime border.
And were you in contact with the authorities of Sector 37?
No, because there was constant replacement of the command structure. By the time I went there were no civilians living in that area. Initially, Tasari, who was an amputee, controlled at the sector level, but later on, when he was gone, there was Tanyak, and as I said, I did not know much about the appointment of people to be in charge in that area by the people at the back.
So you told us that Tassari and Tanyek were there, and what happened to them? Did they disappear, or were they transferred somewhere else? Do you know what happened to them?
Tassari was my supervisor. He got one of his legs amputated, and later he stationed at Srambal. During the time of his disappearance, I believed he went to the zone. Later on, there was Taron. Taron was also an amputee. And later on, there was Tanyak, but I did not meet him when he was in charge. And then there was Tachio. Tachio was in charge of Sector 37. He already left when I went there, but I only learned of his name. And I did not know whether or where he was transferred to, but I only knew that he was sent to the zone. But I did not know where he was sent further by the zone.
President, I have a document that I would like to present to the witness, and this is document D43/4, four Roman numerals, Annex 78. So, could we please give this document to the witness? So this is, these are Pokpin's confessions, alias Siv. He was a member of Sector 37 in the West Zone, and the Khmer ERN is 001747 15 to 75 to 81. English 0078 22 72 to 78.
Judge Lavenge, could you please repeat the ER numbers as the interpreter could not get it?
Yes, Khmer ERN 0017 47 75 to 81. English 0078 22 72 to 78, and there's also another ERN 00 22 46 40. I do not have the French ERN. Do you know Mr. Pokpin alias Siv?
No, I do not know this person.
Fine, thank you. I would like to simply specify that this confession is dated August 26, 1977, and there are a certain number of annotations on the first page, which we might turn to a little later. Annotations mentioning the involvement, the incrimination of other people, Kum and Tanon. Witness, did you ever hear of Kum and of Tanor?
Yes. It's not Kum, it's Kum. And another one is Tano.
Alors, il
So it seems that following Hokpin's confessions that were transmitted to Zone 401, that is to say to the West Zone, that Kum was sent to S21 and Tanor, I do not know if he also disappeared. Do you know if he disappeared?
Bad.
Let me clarify that Kham was previously at Sector 31 in Kampong Speu. He was in charge of military sector there. As for Tano, he went to the forest with me in 1968, but when I became a soldier, he was engaged at the work at the rear or at the base, and then we did not meet since 1970.
Donc vous ne savez pas s'il est vivant ou s'il est...
So you do not know whether he is alive or dead.
Response: I know that he passed away already.
Est-ce que vous connaissez
Do you know the persons who were at the head of the West Zone? Does the name Suchet, alias C, mean anything to you?
Response: Yes, I know him. Previously, he was only known as Tasi, not Chuchet.
Est-ce que vous savez quand est-ce que...
Do you know when Chuchet was arrested?
Response: No, I don't.
Đằng thập bát.
I learned that he disappeared, but I know nothing more than this.
Alors, nous avons un certain nombre d'indications.
Now, we have some information, including confessions. Chuchet alias C, it's E3/1682. We also have Khmer ERN 000136660 to 000139990. We are also aware that Mrs. Linieri or Niari, depending on how it should be pronounced, the spouse of Chuchet, headed a sector in the West Zone. Do you know what became of Mrs. Lin Niari?
Response: I saw her on one occasion. It was back in 1975. When I saw him, I didn't realize that she was Tasi's wife at that time.
Alors, je vais préciser un certain nombre de choses.
Let me make a few points more specific. Chuchet's confession is that the following ERN, the English ERN, is 00818951 to 00819084, and in French it is 00842835 to 0084 842896 regarding Chuchet's wife. We know she was arrested and, in principle, led to Phnom Penh. We also have a letter signed by Pal dated the 26th of March 1978. It's exhibit number E3/198. And he says that I saw Mrs. Linieri, the wife of Chet, so there were a series of arrests in March 1978. And I would like to know whether you are aware of who replaced Chuchet at the head of the West Zone.
Response. When he disappeared, there was no one else other than Ta Seung from the division who remained.
Ta Seung était membre
Ta Seung was a member of the sector committee in addition to being the secretary of Division 1. Is that correct?
បាទ
Response. He was only in charge of the division, and he was the second from Tasi.
qui a remplacé
Who replaced Nick after he was arrested when he was head of Sector 37?
Response. When Tanyak disappeared, I saw Taruat, alias Ruh, who came to take over from this, and he was all by himself. And I think there was another man whose name I don't remember.
et Tarat alias
Tarat alias Ron, or thereabouts. Was he from Sector 31? Had he previously been Deputy Secretary of Sector 31?
បាទ
Response. Yes, Taruh, alias Rot, was in charge of Sector 31 in Kampong Chnang.
ហ្នឹងហើយទៅរស់ហៅរត់បាទ
Alors revenons au secteur 37.
Now let us return to Sector 37. Part of Sector 37 is on land, and the part that is on the coast of Cambodia may be related to Sri Ambel. Have you heard of Sri Ambel? What was in Sri Ambel?
Response. Yes, I have. There was a sector called Srai Ambal, and there was a pagoda and also a location where a person was there, a person who has the authority was there.
Est-ce que Sri Ambal était connu pour ses marques?
Was Sri Ambal known for its salt marshes?
Response: I have never been there to the salt fields, but people name the location as Kong Sri Ambal all along.
Est-ce que vous connaissiez le district de
Did you know Prenop district?
Response: I do not know the provincial town of that district because I never been there. I know that there was a district called Prenop, but I never been there.
Est-ce que le centre de sécurité dont il a déjà
Was the security center referred to on several occasions as Kokyong, was that situated in Prenop district?
បាទ
Response: Yes, it is.
Et ce centre de sécurité, il était sous la direction de qui?
And who was the head of that security center?
Response: At the beginning, I was not there yet. Tanyak was in charge of Sri Ambal and Prenop sector. But when I went to Kong, Tarua came to take over from a position in Prenop and Kong. And later on, Ta Seung, who was the deputy of the division, was also seen there.
Vous aviez en charge, vous avez dit, la défense du littoral, la défense de la côte.
You were in charge of defending the coast. You were in charge of Kokong, Coast Da, and another island. And that you said that the rest was under Division 3. You also stated, unless I am mistaken, that you did not have any contacts at the level of the division, but you were in contact with regiments in Division 3 and Division 64, unless I am mistaken. Can you please specify what was your role regarding your assignment to defend the coast?
Response: I was contacted at the Division 3, and I said that somebody had to meet with me so that we could build communication, so that we could avoid any conflicts, and we had to meet once every 3 days. Actually, the head of division did not come to see me, but they sent their people representing the regiment and also the battalion, so that we could understand one another and that we should refrain from firing at one another. And I was also asked to help guard or watch out for the ships or vessels in the sea.
Est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire quels étaient les moyens?
Can you tell us what resources you had at your disposal? Did you have ships? Did you have anti-air batteries? Did you have radar? Can you please explain to us how you went about doing your work on a daily basis?
Response. We didn't have the air base. We didn't have any proper seaport. Some heavy weaponry was transported and installed in Koh Kong location, and there are some weapons that were also brought to Koh Yaw, and we had these weapons installed, placed in the location, and we had to maintain them, and later on forces would be deployed to smaller islands. For example, one regiment would be deployed to any particular location, and that we did not have enough weapons to attack our enemies, because we were in short supplies of this. What we had to do is that we had enough supplies to protect ourselves from mosquito bites, like we had mosquito nets, but not heavy weapons.
Alors, est-ce que vous aviez des bateaux ou est-ce...
Did you have any ships, or regarding ships you depended on the naval force? And who managed the vessels belonging to the naval force?
Response. With regard to the naval forces, the forces were under the supervision of Division 3 only. The ship would be docked at the island, and we would be asked to help guard the vessel. So it was as simple as that. When they came to our location, then we would be asked to help guard their vessel.
Donc, si par exemple, vous...
Are you saying that if, for instance, you saw any ships or boats, you were instructed to report the presence of those vessels in Cambodian territorial waters, and to whom did you have to send such reports?
Response. If we saw such ship that belonged to Thais, then we would communicate this message through radio communication to our to the respective division who had contact with us. And for example, if the vessel was deep in their territory other than us, but we could see, then we could also communicate such a message to people concerned through the radio communication.
Ces informations, elles étaient communiquées à Sung ou...
Were such information communicated to Sung or also to Division 3, specifically Miasmuth?
Response. Different people had to report to different persons. For example, they had to report to Tasun, and I had to report to the division that we had contact.
Je suis désolé, mais je n'ai pas très bien compris. Il y a peut-être un
I do not believe you properly understood my question. Perhaps there is a problem of interpretation. Did you have occasion to send reports to Division 3, to send messages to Division 3, for instance, to intercept boats or ships?
Response. I never reported to Division 3. However, I would communicate the message to the people who were in charge of the vessel, who then reported to their superiors. And I also had to report to Tasun, who was at the rear, so that he can be informed.
Ces bateaux avec lesquels vous communiquiez,
Regarding those ships with which you communicated, did they belong to a military regiment or a military unit? And what was the name of that regiment or unit?
The ship belonged to Division 3, but I don't remember which regiment this ship belonged to.
alors un certain nombre de documents.
Now, we have a number of documents that may be relevant, particularly document D 108/28/48. The ERN in English is 0023 36 47 248. And in French, it is 0062 3217 218. And in Khmer, it is 00000860. It's dated 13th of August 1977, and it deals with a meeting between Tasung Tarong and Comrade Mut. Were you aware of the holding of such a meeting between Sung and Miasmut?
But
Response. No, I don't.
Alors un autre document qui vous a déjà.
We have another document that has already been presented by the prosecutors. It's E3/1037, and it is a telegram whose ERNs are as follows. And the ERN in Khmer is 001617 70, and the other one is 00233645, and the other one is 00710220. This telegram has to do with an incident with enemy ships close to Kokong. It also talks about the seizure of a Thai vessel. The telegram is signed Office 09 Kokong, and it is sent to Brother 89 and to the archives. You have already told us that Office 09 was not under Division 1. Now, do you know whether that office was under Zone 3, or it was an office of the Naval Force. Was there an office of the Naval Force in Kokong?
Response: No, there was no division office of Division 1 in Kokong.
Est-ce qu'il y avait un radar à Kokong?
Was there a radar in Kokong, or did you receive information from a radar on the coast, a radar located on the coast?
Response: As I indicated, such a radar was not yet in existence. We only used the binoculars to watch or to see things from a far distance.
Alors, j'ai un autre.
I have another document to show you, and may I request that the witness be shown this document.
Il s'agit du document.
It is document E3/1007. It is a telegram dated the 12th of April 1978, and the Khmer ERN is 0000111, and in English it is 00324834, and in French it is 00811278.
Alors, ce télégramme est.
This telegram is signed by Rat. Is Rat the secretary of Sector 37?
Response: Yes, he was the same person by the name Ruh, alias Rat.
Alors, il semble qu'il y ait des petits problèmes concernant.
It appears that there are some problems regarding interpretation in French. Since the program was sent on the 12th of April, and it said that on the 30th of April I took your letter to the Thai embassy. Reference is made to the 10th of April in the letter. It appears that on the 10th of April, Rath delivered letters and instructions to the Thai embassy. On the 10th of April, we brought the brothers' letter and instructions to inform the Thai embassy. They were happy to send the letter and matters we met with them about to their Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In that meeting, the Thai raised the same issue that our troops, together with the Thai communists, had entered and attacked them. They said that they had reported to their Ministry of Foreign Affairs and that there was no fighting. In fact, their Ministry of Foreign Affairs believed that, but the military had reported back that it was certain that Kampuchean troops were together with the Thai communists. And the last paragraph makes mention of conditions for cooperation between the Khmers and the Thai. And it said, the Thai had said that Im Tan went to France with all his family after according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and that they were waiting for a request from Cambodia to solve the Thai-Cambodian border issues quickly. They pressured us to return the people and property that they say are now in our territory. Let me point out that the telegram was sent to Uncle Noon, Brother Van, Brother Von, and to archives. Mr. Witness, does this refresh your memory? Were you aware of the border clashes and negotiations between Cambodia and Thailand?
Response. The person by the name of Rod was not the same person in Sector 37, because this person at Sector 37 had nothing to do with the foreign affairs section, or perhaps this was another person at different office and who had to report on this, because if it were the Rod, the person I knew, he would not be doing something or reporting on anything like this about diplomatic relations. So I believe that he was not Rod under Sector 37. He could have been another person by the same name.
Can you tell us what happened when Vietnamese vessels, Vietnamese fishing boats would come and were arrested, and what would happen when Thai fishermen were arrested?
Response. I think I already emphasized that when people were arrested, we would then have to report to the division to receive them in Kampong Sam. They were not based in Kampong Sam, but there were the vessels that belonged to the division that could be docking at Kampong Sam to receive the people arrested. So the people who were arrested would then be handled by them, not us. The President, thank you, Mr. Witness, and thank you, Judge Lavagne. It is now appropriate moment for lunch adjournment. The chamber will adjourn until 1:30 p.m. Court officer is now instructed to make sure that Mr. Witness and his duty counsel are properly assisted during the adjournment and have them return to the courtroom by 1:30 p.m. Counsel for Mr. Nguyen Chia, you may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have three very brief points. The first point, just to complete the citation I was trying to give this morning, that was Lewis Carroll, Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There. That's a book from 1871. My second point relates to...
The President, this morning we already ruled upon this, and that you were not allowed to have any other few words concerning the point we ruled upon. So again, you are not allowed to touch upon this issue again.
Thank you, Mr. President. So very quickly, the order that I referred to, order to strike, that's E1/129/1, and that's just for the record, for posterity, so to speak. My final application, I've just been informed by Nguyen Chia, our client, that he's suffering from a backache, a headache, and a general lack of concentration. And for those three reasons, he would like to follow the proceedings today, this afternoon, from the holding cell. And that's our final application for this morning. Thank you.
The President, the Chamber notes the request by counsel for Nuon Chea, asking the Chamber that Mr. Nuon Chea would like to be excused and that he would like to observe the proceedings from his holding cell due to his health concern. The Chamber therefore grants such request and that Mr. Nuon Chea is allowed to observe the proceedings from his holding cell via audio-visual link. And by that, the Chamber notes that Mr. Nuon Chea has expressly waived his right to participate in the courtroom, and that the Chamber asks that counsel for Mr. Nuon Chea submit the waiver given thumbprint or signed by Mr. Nuon Chea to the Chamber, and AV officers are now instructed to ensure that the audio-visual link is connected to the holding cell of Mr. Nuon Chea so that he can observe the proceedings from there. Security personnel are now instructed to bring Mr. Nuon Chea and Khieu Samphan to their respective holding cell and have Mr. Khieu Samphan return to the courtroom when the next session resumes. The court is adjourned.